Hi, this is Conrad from PowerSyncPro again, and today I wanted to walk you through the end user experience for a migration of a device that is going to go from Hybrid Entra Joined, and it's going to be migrated to Entra Joined, aka Cloud Native, in its same tenant. So this is not an AD to AD migration, and this is not an Entra to Entra migration. It's not a hybrid AD to a different tenant migration. This is literally the use case for going cloud native, which might be part of your cloud first journey in your organization. The key things to note about this particular migration, that whilst it's changing the device state from being an Active Directory joined machine and hybrid joined to Entra, and then becoming Entra joined only, is that we don't need to do anything with the existing applications. So in my screen here, you can see I've got my Edge signed in, and I've also got my OneDrive is up and running, and you can see I've got my Teams is up and running. I'm signed into Word, I'm signed into Outlook, signed into Excel. Now all of those things will remain signed in at the end of the migration because I'm not changing the sign-in account that logs on to those applications. As you can see here, I've got my machine prepped and ready to migrate. So I've got migration dialog box up here. The good thing about this particular use case also is that because you're not doing a cutover migration that's switching between tenants or between ADs, you can actually stagger these migrations in batches for your users. So, if you're a large organization and you need to do 100 at a time or 1,000 at a time, and you don't want to overwhelm your support network, then you can just stagger these through. You can do your tests, your pilots, your early adopters, and then move to your full-scale velocity migration. So I'm going to end up clicking start here, and it's saying here for me to save my work. So I'm going to just close out my applications in the background here. So I've got Teams open, I've got Explorer open, I've got my Word open. So let's just close those out, and we'll click the start migration here. So the expectation here is you're going to see a migration in progress image. Well, that's what the end users will see. This migration will be taken from being a hybrid intra-joined device. The first thing it'll do is it'll domain disjoin it, and it will become a workgroup device, and that's the first reboot here. So I can actually speed this process up, and I can restart my device here. The next thing it will do after it comes back to restart the migration, it is going to then intra-join the device, and after it successfully joins the target intra tenant, it will reboot once again, and then it will run through, it'll repermission the Windows profile, it'll repermission any of the registry keys, user rights assignments, anything else that needs to be repermissioned, and then they'll have a final reboot. So 3 boots in total, and then that user will be back to their normal login screen. But in between, what they'll see there is a lock screen image. It's going through its second reboot now, so it's made its join to Entra join. And here we are back at the lock screen image. I've also put on a, we call the legal notice here. So they get sort of 2 gates to go through here. So they have the lock screen image, then the migration in progress. We don't want users logging into the device before we do the repermissioning, simply because if they do manage to successfully log in, they'll end up locking out the registry and we can't repermission the registry. However, we do have a cool feature so that if a user is in scope for migration, and that's in the user translation file, and they try to log in too early, they will be presented with a dialog box saying that they cannot log in to this machine. It'll be denied for logon. So we'll show if we can demo that here for you. The signer method you're trying to use isn't allowed, and that's because this user's in scope for migration on this device, and we leverage the deny logon until the migration has finished. And it's going through another reboot here. And your migration has successfully completed. So we're back to our normal login screen. And so what the user should be able to do now is just log on. You see there's no Active Directory account there. So I'm going to log in with my good friend Donald Duck here. And in my particular environment, the first thing that this user is going to be presented with is their Windows Hello for Business configuration. The great thing about using Windows Hello for Business, and we highly recommend using Windows Hello for Business, it's a phishing resistant way to log into your device using phishing resistant MFA, but it also, at first log on, it creates the primary refresh token, the PRT, because the user is enforced to do MFA at that Windows Hello for Business configuration screen. And here we are at the Windows Hello for Business configuration. It knows the user I logged on with, so it's going to present me with my MFA prompt. And now I'll set a PIN for my device. And that's me all set. And here I am back at my normal login screen. As I said, we didn't need to reconfigure the applications. It is just Entra Joined. I have a nice migration complete instruction here. I can click OK. If I wanted to go to further information, I could scan that QR code and be taken to perhaps an intranet portal or another kind of landing page which has more information around the migration, but essentially I'm done. And you probably saw in the background there that my OneDrive is already logged in. It's the same OneDrive. I don't need to do anything with it. I'm straight into there. I can start up my Outlook here, and I'll have the same Outlook profile, just go straight in. There we go. Got my too long, didn't read mail newsletters here. Can jump into my Word, and you'll see that I'm still signed in with my same account. And Teams is already loaded in the background here. And so I'm back in business, and I can get on with my working day. So simple as that, folks. That is how you go cloud native. There is no need to fresh start your device. There's no need to autopilot and push that down. There's no need to swap out devices, physical hardware. No need to re-image the device. No need to put your end users through a massive inconvenience of reconfiguring all their applications, setting all their preferences, installing all the software that they use for their day job. That is literally my same device that was hybrid Entra Joined less than 10 minutes ago, is now Entra Joined, and I'm back up in business. Thanks very much. I've been Conrad Murray for PowerSyncPro. Please do reach out to us. Go to PowerSyncPro.com. You can request a demo, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.